Well, it is not Tuesday. It is Monday. We're kind of changing things up here a little bit. We got an audible this week. It's Intern Joe. I'm Mike Yuva. Chris and Wes will be doing the Tuesday show this week. We're taking over on Monday, and it's a good day to take over. It is Monday, March 25th, 2024. The Gamecocks are already 3 practices in the books for spring practice. We had a chance today to listen to a handful of offensive players. We will have some of that audio for you guys as it is slowly but surely being uploaded to the Gamecock YouTube page for the athletic site. So we're going to be able to play some of those clips from the players today. And I will say this, having a chance to listen to LaNorris Sellers, I think that's what stood out to me the most, Joe. And we'll do what we do typically throughout the season, our initial takeaways when we do on Tuesdays. That was the thing that stood out to me today. You have a guy that should still be a freshman. He is a sophomore now because he enrolled early last year. So he's a sophomore. And he just came across as a guy that has more, he's just focused. He's focused. He understands that, and we'll listen to what he had to say because I asked him at point blank. People expect him to be the starter. People expect him to be the next coming. What continues to motivate him? He's not getting too high. He's not getting too low. That was one of the biggest takeaways that he learned from Spencer Rattler last year. And I felt like just being able to listen to him today, you can already start to see that he has that personality.
Yeah, absolutely. This was going to be a big offseason for LaNorris, right? He, the fact that, he had to take more of a leadership role, step, into it quickly. Shane talked about that in week 1. Something that he's seen from LaNorris is more of that leadership role. So excited to see, what you get from the kid. And, I think he handled himself well at the podium. Not really a outspoken guy, but he's getting there, he told me. And so, I think that's big, and really good to hear from him and kind of get, his mind going into, the tough, the quarterback battle, right? With Robbie Ashford, Dante Reno, and everyone else.
Yeah, so real quick, technically, Charles, yes, he is a redshirt freshman. I'm saying sophomore. I'm talking about in the classroom. It's his second year there, but you are, from a technicality standpoint, yes, he is a redshirt freshman after only appearing in 4 games last year. But having that opportunity to go through this process before, having the opportunity to go through the spring last year, and then obviously going through the fall. And I'm not even talking specifically the 4 games in which he appeared. And we know what he was able to do in the limited time that we saw him in there, whether it be throwing some bombs, whether it be rushing and scoring touchdowns. Just having that comfortability factor and understanding, hey, okay, yeah, this team's looking at me. This city is looking at me to be the next guy. Spencer Rattler isn't here. If I turn around behind me, I'm the most experienced quarterback outside of Luke Doty as far as playing snaps at South Carolina as a QB, because Robbie Ashford, yes, he has a lot of experience at Auburn. We'll also listen to We'll also listen to Robbie, who talked about his experience at Auburn, what he was able to learn as he's competing for the starting spot with Sellers. We'll also listen to some of the other players too. But when he looks behind him, you're the guy, man. You're the guy. Like we've talked about this going back to even the end of last year, Joe. This is his opportunity. And as we mentioned numerous times, because of the fact that South Carolina had 2 players hit the portal in that quarterback room, in addition to losing Spencer Rattler, that you were going to have to go out in the portal and bring someone in. And they brought 2 people in. They brought Bevel in as a walk-on from Oklahoma, but they also brought in Robbie Ashford, who has experience as a starter in the SEC, having spent time with the Auburn Tigers. And then, of course, you brought in Dante Reno, the true freshman. So I say that because, look, we knew going into this spring that you had to have some type of competition. You had to have some type of competition. Was very impressed with some of the things that Robbie Ashford had to say today. But I also really liked what Sellers had to say. And I know at this point, we're not measuring players. Okay, what they're saying right now will not dictate whether or not South Carolina is winning or losing games come September. However, at this point, in a sense, all we can do is make our opinions and judge these players on what we're either seeing or hearing. Haven't got a chance to see much out of them in practice because Well, outside of those 6 open periods for practice 1, the other practices were closed to the media. That will change on Wednesday, Joe. I believe it's Wednesday. We'll have an opportunity to see them out there. But again, with what we've had a chance to either see or hear this spring, impressed with what Sellers had to say today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we do get a look at him on Wednesday, I believe. So, and then lots of media availabilities as well. The offensive players are just the tip of the iceberg this week. We get defensive players Wednesday, I believe. Also, we have Coach Beamer tomorrow, and then we have a couple assistant coaches on Thursday. So jam-packed week for spring football. And yeah, I mean, from what we've seen and what we've heard, obviously too, Sellers is doing, all the right things as well as, the rest of the quarterbacks. It's still really, really early in the quarterback race, but again, that's what we're here for, to, speculate and just kind of lead into, this race and what it's going to look like going through spring ball.
No question about it. And we mentioned LaNorris Sellers had an opportunity to meet with the media today, and that video is good to go. So I'm going to pop that thing up for us, and we're going to have a chance to be able to listen to Sellers. Sellers met with the media for about 8 minutes today. So this is what LaNorris had to say, making his first media availability as potentially QB1.
As a whole. And LaNorris, what's the first 3 days of practice been like for you, and what have you seen from just the team as a whole?
I see a lot of good. Like, we're still learning this stuff. The main thing now is just like getting everybody on the same page. That's the biggest thing. Building chemistry with receivers. It's the first time we're doing anything live, like full speed too. So it's like you have your problems and stuff, but it's easy problems that you can fix and stuff. So.
LaNorris, I don't know if you saw the quote from Spencer last week or 2 weeks ago. He said that, he expects you to be a dog, you to be the leader of this team moving forward. And I think back to what Coach Dal Logan said last year. He's like, I'm, constantly telling LaNorris that he sucks, trying to continue to motivate him. I bring that up simply to say that as you go into this year, naturally on the outside looking in, a lot of people expect you and assume that you will be the starter. What continues to help you ignore all that outside noise to continue to stay focused on becoming that week 1 starter?
Just that, like, anything can happen. Like, I can go out there and just like completely just like not do what I'm expected to do, and just like, what I'm saying, you can lose a spot or anything, not really lose a spot because nothing is set in stone yet. But it's like you just have to just try to get better every single day. So that's what I'm going into thinking.
LaNorris, do you put pressure on yourself? Do you have your own expectations that you feel you need to meet? Or is this just, hey, I'm just going to get better and trust in what I know how to do?
I do have expectations for myself. I try not to make the same mistake twice. So I try to keep learning, making new mistakes. That's what D'Lo would say or tell me to do. Just not do the same thing and go backwards. Just make new mistakes and basically learn from and go forward. Keep going forward.
Hey, LaNorris, what do you remember about going through your first spring practice, last year, and then obviously the spring game, and just how much more comfortable do you feel like you feel out there this year?
I'm a lot more comfortable. Last year was kind of just fast paced. Everything was just going like foo foo foo. Like it was like I knew the stuff, but when you get out there on the field, it's like first time seeing it like full SEC speed. It's just like you're lost. But now it's just like I got it now, I know everything now, so it's a lot easier for me.
LaNorris, last week, Coach Beamer said you were trying to get more involved as a leader. What are some ways that you're trying to get more involved? And then what does, LaNorris Sellers as a leader look like?
I'm just really bringing other guys along with me. Like, I try to do the right thing all the time. So it's just like bringing those other guys with me, and then like being more vocal too. I'm not really like a loud vocal guy. So it's just like that was a step that I had to take, like talking in front of the team, talking just like coaching staff and stuff, just building new relationships really.
Hey, LaNorris, Jordan K with the State. I feel like everyone, when they think of LaNorris Sellers, thinks of that 70-yard bomb on like week 2 and then the zone read touchdown. And that's basically their only, idea of LaNorris Sellers as a quarterback. Who is LaNorris Sellers as a quarterback, and what are you working on with your game this spring to try and, get it to wherever you want to go?
Really just being a winner, like having the confidence to do what I like, being confident in my abilities, like being able to like throw the ball, run when I need to, like break sacks, make the right reads, just be somebody that's dependable, really.
LaNorris, I remember talking to Clayton White last year and saying, I forget what game it was. I think it was going into the Jacksonville State game maybe last year. And he was saying that you were giving like the best possible look as a scout team quarterback. What do you like? How good was that experience for you last year to go through the scout team and stuff and kind of help the defense, I guess? And just what did you learn from that?
For me, it was fun. Like, I look forward to those periods, like service periods and scout periods, just because it's like, you don't really know what you're doing, but you got to like make it work just for it to give the defense a better look. So I was just out there pretty much pretty much trying to make the best plays I could, honestly, because it was like you had one read. Well, you had a full play read, but you didn't know the other read. So you just had to pick something and stick to it. And if it wasn't there, you just had to make a play. So that's just what I took pride in last year.
How's it been with all the receivers? Because they're like 5 new guys,
Mhm.
a couple tight ends you're trying to get used to, more familiar with. How's that process been getting on the same page with those guys? And who all stood out at receiver too?
It's been pretty good. So every Tuesday and Thursday since we got back, we've been doing like throwing sessions. So we got a head start on like just building the chemistry, like on the playbook and stuff like that. So we did that pretty much every Tuesday and Thursday. If they could make it one day, then they can come that day. If they couldn't make it that day, you can just come Thursday. Or if you can make it both days, just come both days. So that's how we did that. But for me, Gage, Jared Brown, the young guys are stepping up too. Not younger, we're the same age, but Tashawn, Craig, those guys. Pretty much it's been good, honestly. Now it's just doing it full game speed. You got somebody on you now. It's not just like route choice versus air and stuff. So that's pretty much the biggest thing.
LaNorris, what's the biggest thing that Spencer taught you from last year, or anything in particular? Maybe even Luke Doty with all the experience that he has at quarterback.
Pretty much confidence. Just if you make a decision, just be firm with your decision. Don't hesitate. Don't second guess yourself. And Spence was always just like he wasn't too high or ever too low. So I just try to take that from just being composed all the time.
LaNorris, we had Robbie in here earlier. What has it been getting to know him a little bit, and what kind of a resource can he be to you and you can be to him?
So he's an older guy. He's played. He started. I can take a lot from him. Honestly, he started the whole season at Auburn. And then for me, he could take just like the playbook stuff just because I've been here. It's a new playbook for him. So I could take his college experience and just what he's learned playing, and then he can just take my experience of being here, meeting everybody else, all the playbooks and stuff.
All right, there you go. LaNorris Sellers. And again, we talked about it before we had a chance to play it for you guys, if it was your first time listening to it today. Just looks confident, looks cool, calm, and collected. And certainly in the situation that he's in, following in the footsteps of arguably one of the best quarterbacks statistically at South Carolina. And I know that there's been some very good ones. Connor Shaw, Steven Garcia. No disrespect to those guys, but certainly what Spencer did and being in the position that he's in, trying to get drafted in the next couple weeks. It's not easy shoes to fill. And certainly come week 1, come week 2, come week whatever, whether or not LaNorris is the starter, which we all expect him to be, those are big shoes to fill. And there will be growing pains. However, this early in the game, this early in the transition, he just looks calm. He doesn't seem like, it's all giddy. And I also think, too, he understands, and we're going to listen to Robbie Ashford in a little bit, too. He understands, hey, nothing's promised to me. Nothing's promised to me. We heard Shane Beamer say it multiple times in the offseason. There were other quarterbacks who went through the transfer portal process that reached out to South Carolina, or South Carolina reached out to, but they wanted to be promised that they would be the week 1 starter. And Shane's like, that's not happening here. That's not happening here. And instead, they ended up bringing in a walk-on with Bevel, with his experience at Oklahoma, but they also brought in Robbie Ashford. Sellers understands that nothing's promised to him. So the idea that he's looking at is like, all right, I'm going to be the week 1 starter. I'm not saying he's not confident in himself, because I'm sure certainly he is, but he's not taking anything for granted. And just his demeanor and just the way he's talking, the way he's answering questions, you can tell this guy's locked in, that this guy isn't just going through the motions this spring. He understands that they brought a guy in that has experience, and he wants the same thing that you want. And again, competition, Beamer keeps talking. That's a core value of this program. That's what you need out of any position, but certainly at quarterback.
Yeah, most definitely, Mike. I mean, I think, him stepping up, this was the offseason to do it, right? Last season, around this time, he was just dominating on the scout team, right? Trying to make plays, trying to, impress the coaches to give him a shot here. So, big stuff out of him. And, it's entering week 2, right? Day 1 of week 2 was today. So, still in the baby stages of it, but and obviously we'll hear from coaches and other players alike on how he's doing throughout the spring. And so, yeah, I'm interested to see, how he progresses. I think, everyone has full faith that he will. And, like you said too, just, trusting his decision-making, I think is the biggest thing because, naturally he's a great football player. He makes a lot of good decisions. And so when he trusts his gut, essentially what Dowell Loggins is telling him to do, he's making plays and making a lot of them. So I think if he does that, and again, you heard Gage Larvadain talk about it a little bit, or I think, Gage Larvadain and Robbie Ashford too, just have fun, right? When you're playing up tight, bad things happen. So I think that's exactly what LaNorris has to do. Just go out there and play football, have fun.
We've mentioned this before in the past too, that as comfortable as LaNorris feels, having gone through this process before, right? Went through spring football last year with the Gamecocks, enrolling in early. We've mentioned it before that you don't want him to feel comfortable. So what do I mean by that? We're talking about, wait a minute, Mike, you just said he's feeling comfortable. That's not the part that that we're focused on. We say feeling comfortable. I'm talking about going into the building feeling like, all right, I'm going to be the guy. Especially as a young quarterback, any position, but especially as a young quarterback, that's the last thing that you need. Think back to the 2020 season. Remember that situation? Not apples to oranges to this, as we like to say around here. But the last thing you need is a young quarterback feeling comfortable, feeling like, all right, that's going to be my spot. Don't want that. And I think Sellers is well aware of that. He's a competitor. Certainly Robbie Ashford, who we're going to hear from coming up shortly, that's the demeanor that you're seeing right now. And if you go back even during that 2010 period, there was some good competition between Garcia and Shaw, 2010, 2011, before Garcia ended up leaving. But that's what you need. That's what you need. I see a comment from Travis Edwards. Mike, when you and Joe are doing a Monday show, it makes me think it's a Tuesday. Shaking my head. I feel like it's a Tuesday. For anyone that just joined us, it is not Tuesday. We just did a little switcheroony this week with Wes and Chris. They'll be taking over the Tuesday show this week. Then Talking Tuesday will be back next week. So just a little switch up on you guys this week because of some conflict in schedule. Speaking of Robbie Ashford, we've had a chance to talk with him before. You go back to, I don't know, probably about a month plus now ago, month and a half ago. We had an opportunity, Joe, to sit down with the nearly 20, 15 plus transfers that South Carolina was able to pick up this offseason. And I think the thing that stood out to me the most about Robbie then was just how appreciative he is of this opportunity, how appreciative he is of the opportunity to go to a place to work with a guy like Dowell Loggins, how appreciative he is to go to a school that put together a really damn good quarterback in Spencer Rattler. And certainly with what's took place from the Reese's Senior Bowl performance to what he did at the Combine to what he did a couple weeks ago at Pro Day, people are taking notice to it. And it's not just scouts. It's not just teams. It's players out there like Robbie Ashford. So having a chance to listen to him today and just talk about what this process has been like now that you're 3 practices in, you can still sense how appreciative he is. But at the same time, too, he's coming in here and he's hungry. He's competing. He's going to push Sellers. And that's exactly what you want to see at that quarterback position. So Robbie Ashford, he talked for a good 15 minutes. We won't play the whole thing for you. We'll have all these videos posted later on in the day on the Gamecock Central YouTube page, depending on when you're listening to this, because some people come back and they like to replay the show. By then, all the videos will be up on the GC page. You can also find them on the Gamecock Central website. We'll have all the videos for you as well. 6 players spoke today, Robbie Ashford being one of them. Had a chance to listen to 2 QBs, 3 if you count Luke Doty. We'll listen to Doty shortly. But here's what Robbie Ashford had to say today.
Hey, Robbie, Hale McGranahan with the Big Spur. Welcome into the big room, I guess.
Appreciate it.
What's the first 3 days, I guess, been like for you guys and for you personally on the field?
Yeah, they've been great. I mean, just getting to be around those guys, getting to actually play ball now, it's just good to see how everybody moves, how everybody does things. For me, just learning new offense, I mean, it's really different than what I played in Auburn. The one I played in Auburn was simple, 2-word calls, go. But now I'm playing in a more pro-ready offense, and so it's been a good adjustment just having Coach D'Lo and Coach Shula just to help me because they're guys who have been in the league. So they've definitely taught me a lot. And just coming in, just knowing the mistakes I made and just coming in and correcting them and just not trying to make those again, something we emphasize heavy. But it's been great. Our room has been great. Just nothing but competition, nothing but love. And you can just see the competition going throughout this whole team. So it's been a great first 3 days, and I'm excited to see how it just keeps going.
Robbie, Mike, you have a Gamecock Central. When Spencer came in a couple of years ago, we asked him this question. I mean, being a transfer, someone that has experience of playing at other schools, starting before in the past, how do you come in here? You try and probably not to step on toes of other people at the same time, too. Naturally, that's a position that you need to be a leader, you need to be vocal. Describe that process for us.
Yeah, so like you said, not stepping on toes, I feel like that's big. That's kind of the mindset I came in with. I mean, it's guys that have been here, so you kind of just try and find your way and just get comfortable. And I feel like that's what I'm doing. You're still doing it now. I mean, it takes time because you're still trying to learn everybody. Just sometimes I still can get lost in the building. I mean, it's just things like that. But yeah, just not trying to come in and step on any toes. And just I'm a guy too. I like to say something when I feel it's something that needs to be said, and other than that, just lead by example. So I feel like when it's been certain situations where if I maybe needed to say something, I've said it. But other than that, just try and lead by example and just bring those guys along to follow. Because I mean, playing quarterback, you got to be a leader, and if you're leading by example and leading the right way, those guys will follow. And I mean, that just makes our team better when everybody's on their same accord and definitely on offense and everybody's doing their 111. I mean, we can be a really good offense in the show. So that's what I've really been working on. Still getting more comfortable. So as the days go, I'll get gradually more and more comfortable. So just letting the days go by and just seeing where it takes me.
Hey, how's it going? Jack Veltri, GamecockCentral.com. Working with a lot of quarterbacks in this room. What's it been like working with Dante Reno and, someone that's an older guy? I mean, what do you remember about going through your first spring practices back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, Dante's a great guy. I mean, he's going to be really good here. And just seeing the things he does, I mean, it kind of the mistakes are like, man, I remember I made those because they're just freshman mistakes you make when you're young. I mean, you come in, everything's new, the speed of the game. But he's adapted well. He's been a really good learner. He wants to learn from all the older guys, me, LaNorris, Davis, Luke. Like he's always sitting there asking questions. I mean, a great guy, just someone you like to be around. But yeah, just seeing him go through those freshman humps, it's like we all can sit there and be like telling us, hey, like we've all been there. Like don't get down on yourself. Like I promise you, it's a part of the process. But he's taken that really well and just knowing that it's going to come with time. I mean, he's still supposed to be in high school right now. He's still supposed to be getting ready for prom. So what he's come in and done these 2.5 months since I've been here, I mean, it's been great. And I'm excited to just keep taking him under my wing and just keep showing him the ropes since I've been a guy that's played and just had that experience. So definitely want to take him under my wing, but got nothing but love for the kid. I mean, he's going to be special.
Hey, Robbie, Pete Yakabelli with the Associated Press. First of all, how has your adjustment been to Columbia, to campus, just getting all those things together for you? And what are fans going to see when you get on the field?
Yeah, so the adjustment has been great. It's always kind of different when you first get somewhere because I've been to 2 stops, so I know what it's like to be the new guy. And it's never a new feeling. I mean, still you're gonna get there. First few days you might be a little nervous. Just you don't know anybody, and it's just you're coming around all new people. But I mean, these guys have taken me in from the day I got here and just shown me nothing but love and what it's like to be a part of a family. And I feel like that was something I was missing, just the culture, the environment, and Coach Beamer and everybody involved here has just done a great job of showing that and just proving to what they said when I came on my recruiting visit. I mean, everything they said, they've stood on. Like the competition, it's been nothing but comp. And I mean, as a competitor, I mean, that's all I could ask for. I mean, I knew I was gonna have to come out here and grind for it, and that's what I wanted because I want to gain the trust and respect of my teammates and coaches, and I feel like that's big. But just what Gamecock fans can expect from me, just somebody who's gritty, somebody who I'm not gonna stop playing until that clock hits 0-0 in the fourth quarter. And if we got to go play overtime or however many until that game is over and there's a winner or a loser, I'm not gonna stop playing. I mean, I'm gonna give everything for my guys. I mean, no matter what. I like to say it for me, I'm the type of guy I have to physically be enabled to not be able to do something to not play or have a thought of not playing. If it's any chance I can go, I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna leave it all out there on the field. I mean, hopefully we come out here and make South Carolina fans happy and have a great year. And I definitely feel like we can, but just want Gamecock Nation to know they're gonna get everything I've got, day in, day out. Doesn't matter win or loss, everything I've got, and I'm always gonna empty the tank for them. So this is my new home, and I'm gonna give my new home everything I've got.
There you go. New quarterback, Robbie Ashford. Again, very impressed with what he had to say today. Very impressed with how he sounded a couple weeks ago when we had a chance to listen to him. Joe, what just your overall thoughts now you were there today from being able to listen to what Ashford had to say?
Yeah, correct, Mike. Yeah, no, I was impressed with Ashford. I think he's just grateful for the opportunity. I mean, he's been through college football, and I think this quarterback room is similar to a lot of position groups right now for South Carolina. Right, you've got a lot of young guys coming in, and then you have veteran guys from the transfer portal to kind of fill those rooms out. Gage, we spoke to Gage Larvadane, the wide receiver from Miami of Ohio, and I asked him about it, and he's like, "Yeah, it's kind of similar, across the board, really." He said it's cool because all these highly touted recruits are coming in here and looking up to these guys that are transfers and veteran guys under recruited, stuff like that. So it's a really good mix. And I think, it's the guys who appreciate football the most are bringing up the guys that you really, you want to instill that culture in them. Right. So it's something Coach Beamer's always done well, handling with the culture and that kind of thing. But I think, with the veterans that are trying to prove themselves, it raises the competition. I think that was another theme that was just in general from all players, a little bit from Ashford, but just again, in general from all players, the competition level certainly is raised. And then, they've got the right coaches in there. A lot of good talk about Coach Elliott and Coach Furry today as well. But I loved what I heard from Ashford. Again, he's going to give LaNorris a run for his money, right? But certainly, again, grateful for the opportunity. And I think, really, really good guy to have on the sidelines.
Yeah, I'm excited to see these guys throw it on Wednesday when we have a chance to see them at practice. We're getting bits in like little snippets from talking to people close to the program and inside the building as to how these guys are looking this early in practice. It's difficult to really know two things, right? Number one, I don't get so caught up, and I know we're out there filming it, and naturally all of us, but especially the fan base when you're not there and you see the clips online, I'm not going to get blown back by seeing someone throw the football, 50, 60 yards or whatever the hell the case may be, just in shorts, right? I want to see them in shoulder pads. I want to see them full pads, and I want to see what they're able to do, especially when they're doing 11-on-11 periods. Now, obviously, we can take it a step further once we're talking about what they do in games on Saturday, but as far as trying to get to that point and looking at what a guy like Sellers and what a guy like Ashford can bring to the table, I want to see what these guys look like myself. I think, just curiosity. What do they look like? We would assume from a understanding of the playbook standpoint, LaNorris would have the upper hand, and he should have the upper hand. And he should be going out there and he should be doing things that say, hey, all right, this is why a lot of us expect him to be the week one starter. Never mind just the natural ability, his natural talent that we all know that's there, but just the fact that he's been here already for a year. The challenging part for LaNorris, and this would obviously be a challenge for Robbie or any new quarterback for that matter, is the fact that when you look at the wide receiver room, you have a lot of new faces. you have a lot of new faces, and we're trying to see, okay, if Sellers is the guy, can these wide receivers create separation? What's the timing like? Because for a lot of these guys, they didn't work with Sellers last year. Some of these guys weren't here. 3 of the wide receivers that we expect to be competing for starting jobs, right? So what does that look like? What does that look like throughout the course of spring and as we get into fall camp? You would expect over time that timing will get better. LaNorris talked about it. They're going out 2 extra times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays to throw with the wide receivers, to work on that timing, to be able to develop that rapport that you need between your wide receivers and your quarterback. That will improve over time, but that is certainly one of the challenges that LaNorris faces. And obviously, any new quarterback, Robbie being the other quarterback in Bevel as well, and throw Reno in there as well, being the freshman QB. But speaking about that wide receiver room, Joe, a guy that is working in that wide receiver room, but has also been working with the quarterbacks, as he shared today, and you'll hear from him in a little bit,
Athlete.
is Luke Doty. He has that athletic tag next to him, ATH. Luke Doty is a guy that I don't think you can sleep on him at wide receiver this year. I really don't. And that's not saying, okay, Mike thinks he's going to go out there and put up Xavier Leggett numbers. No. That's not what I'm saying. But with his experience, with his knowledge, especially that knowledge of playing quarterback and being able to bring that to the wide receiver side and just how athletic he is. You heard Robbie Ashford just talk about it. Like, yeah, Luke Doty, he's a freak when it comes to being just athletic. Listening to him today, you kind of get the sense that he could be kind of like a Taysom Hill for what they do with the Saints, right? And that's not to say that they're going to be subbing out, whether it be Sellers, Ashford, they're going to be subbing out their starting quarterback to throw in Doty for different packages like they do with Hill with the Saints. But he's going back and forth. He's working with both, mainly working with wide receivers, getting a lot of play on special teams. Certainly there's some roles on special teams that they're going to be looking to fill now that Dakereon Joyner's gone, as well as some other players. But Doty seems to be like one of those guys that could really factor in multiple ways. I know it's the cliche phrase to use, Joe, which I friggin' hate, is the Swiss Army knife, but that's essentially what it sounds like Doty will be doing this year.
Yeah, absolutely. That little athlete tag that Coach Beamer gave him, certainly seems to like it. And I was really impressed with Luke at the stand today, right? And we'll have clips here coming here soon, from Gamecock Central, obviously kind of working on it a little bit here as they come out. But I was really impressed, like I said, because he's ready to learn. At every position, right? Like he brought up, kind of the tail end of last season. And he said how much he enjoyed the process of, being a master of all, if you will, and continuing that into this season. So I think that was big. And then another name that was brought up, and again, we'll have some clips from this, but Dakereon Joyner, right? He's following in the footsteps of DK Joyner and just kind of that role, right? And DK didn't necessarily have the athlete tag while he was here at South Carolina, or for the whole time while he was at South Carolina. But being able to follow in his footsteps, not only as like a person, but as an athlete as well. And then Luke also said some interesting stuff about the transfer portal. You had a really good question, and we'll get to that here in a second. But yeah, really impressed with Luke, and excited to see that he'll be on the sidelines, mentoring guys up.
Yeah, what Joe's talking about is I brought up, and we'll play a good portion of what Luke had to say in just a little bit. But that was one of the questions I brought up later on in the press conference, which is, hey, look, people talk about it all the time. They talked about it with DK. Luke, why didn't you look at the transfer portal? Did you feel like there was a better opportunity out there for you? Because people look at you and say, hey, look how athletic you are. And he gave a phenomenal answer. And that's not to say, okay, Luke should enter the portal, but this is things that people have brought up. And when you look at what Luke has gone through, whether it be the injuries, the coaching changes, positional changes, everything in between, it would have been real easy for him to hit the portal. We see it happen throughout college football. Things don't go your way. What happens? You enter the portal. Not saying what's right or wrong, but that's just the era that we're living in college football. And Luke gave a phenomenal answer to that. So without further ado, let's listen to not just your wide receiver for your Gamecocks, not just a quarterback for the Gamecocks, but an athlete for the Gamecocks, the pride of Myrtle Beach, Luke Doty.
Luke, Robbie was just in here and asked him about the Elite 11 group y'all had way back in the day.
Yeah.
What do you remember about him from that event and being around him back then?
He's still the same guy he is today, man. He's still, that a big time competitor. Loves to go out there and just, spin the ball as hard as he can. And, he's a great athlete. Just 3 days of practice, we've seen flashes of him and, just being himself, doing what he does best. And, that's just making plays. So I think that was really cool. And I even texted him when I saw that he committed here. Was like, hey man, it's come a long way since Dallas in was that 2019. So everything comes full circle, man. It's just really cool to see.
Hey Luke, we see that ATH, that athlete tag next to your name, and
Yep.
I mean essentially that's what you've been doing the last couple of years anyway. What has practice been like for you? Have you been working at all with the quarterbacks? Has it just mainly been wide receivers so far?
Man, it's been everything. Just a little bit at quarterback, a little bit at wide receiver, a little bit of special teams. Just making sure that I'm getting reps in every single place I could possibly play. Just so whenever that time comes, I'm ready for wherever it is. So it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of what I did, towards the end of the season last year. Just taking reps at, like I said, at every single place I could possibly be, and making sure I'm prepared, mentally and physically. So when it happens, I'll be ready to go.
Luke, fans on the outside are going to look at it and say, well, Spencer's off to the pros and Xavier's off to the pros. What's this offense going to be like? What is this offense going to be like?
This offense is going to be fun to watch. Obviously we brought in a lot of playmakers this past recruiting cycle. A lot of new guys, a lot of experienced guys, and a lot of guys that know how to make plays and have been doing it for a while. So I think when we step on the field, spring game, what is it, April 20th? April 20th, when we kick it off in August, it's going to be really fun to watch. There's going to be a lot of explosive plays, a lot of downhill runs, and, just plays being made everywhere by a lot of different guys.
Who would you say your receiver comp is? Like, is there a guy out there that you try to pattern that part of your game after?
I would say Lad McConkey. I think at a collegiate level, he's one of the best to try to model my game after. Obviously, he played at Georgia, played at one of the biggest stages in college football, national championship and SEC championship. And just looking at what he did, at his time there in Georgia was really cool to see. And, just the way that he runs his routes and how surgical and precise he is with those kinds of things. That's really cool to see, and something for me to, go back and watch and just really take notes and just try to add some of the things that he does into my toolbox.
You seem to be just really embracing the idea of being all over the field and doing so many different things. Was it tough at first to grapple with that you're going to be doing all these different things, and how quickly or how much have you embraced that, and what point did that kind of turn?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when it comes to doing multiple different things on the field, I think it really just comes down to compartmentalization, and that's something that I try to do when I step out there. Is when it's a special teams period, focus on the drill technique, whatever we're doing, whatever we're working on. Focus on that in the moment and don't worry about anything else. When I'm playing receiver, focus on the techniques that I'm being taught, the stuff that I've learned, playing in a bunch of games last year, going off of that. And then, when I'm back at quarterback taking reps or doing a drill there, just switching into that kind of mode and just being able to flip the switch at wherever I'm at has really kept me focused on doing everything the right way at each of those positions and just keeping me straight on and off the field.
Luke, with everything that you've gone through, everything that you've seen at South Carolina, it could have been really easy for you to enter the transfer portal in the past. And I'm sure that there's some fans that will bring that up just because of your athletic ability at multiple positions. What has continued to make you want to stay at South Carolina through all the obstacles that you've gone through in the different positions you've played to continue to come back for what feels like, year 8,
year 13? Yeah. I mean, my parents told me whenever I was being recruited, and it's something I still think about today is if you took football out of it, would you still want to be at the university? Would you still want to go to school here? Would you still want to, have a life here? And the answer for me at South Carolina was always yes. And it still is right now, and it always will be. So when, the questions about transferring come up, it's easy for me because I love this place. I love the city. I love the people. I love the fans, as crazy as they are. The environment, everything about it here. I love it, and I wouldn't change anything for the world.
Some good stuff right there. Good stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. And again, that's how it should be, right? For a Myrtle Beach kid. Just again, really impressed. I mentioned that, when we brought up Luke, really impressed.
Yeah. And again, I think when we see the locals, when I say local, I'm talking about the guys just from South Carolina. I know from a local standpoint, I know Myrtle Beach isn't in Columbia. But what I'm trying to get at is we look at examples like DeCarrion Joyner, like Luke Doty. And when you talk about this era of NIL, and certainly Joyner was very well taken care of. And some of that had to do with his performance in the Duke Mayo Bowl a couple of years back. But Luke's been doing pretty well for himself too. And I'm not trying to measure bank accounts or anything like that between the two players. But what I'm trying to get at is, and we all know this, if you stay home in South Carolina, if you are from the state of South Carolina and you commit to USC, this state takes care of their own. I mean, there's no question about it, especially when you give as much as DK gave and as much as Doty has already given and continues to give. So I say that because I've had these conversations with some folks over at Garnet Trust, and that's been something that has been made clear to a lot of players going through the recruiting process. And the ones that are committed to South Carolina, like, hey, look what happened with DK. Look what happened with Doty, speaking from an NIL standpoint. This state takes care of their own. And I think there's just something to be said about that. Moving forward, though, I know probably we'll do this for another 20 minutes or so. I think some things, and Craig said, I heard the Boston come out, Joyner. Yeah, there you go. I think two other things that stood out to me today. We had a chance to catch up with Vershawn Lee. We had a chance to catch up with multiple players. We're going to have all 6 interviews up on Gamecock Central. Not going to be able to get to everyone today, unfortunately. Josh Simon spoke today. Great personality in that guy, the returning tight end for USC. His second year with the Gamecocks coming up. Gage Glaverdine and Vershawn Lee, I thought I was very interested to hear from both. You have an update on what's going on in that wide receiver room, a position where, again, a lot of new faces. They've gone through coaches, positionally, of course, speaking. These last couple months, I think January, February, March, there's been 3 different wide receiver coaches. So essentially 1 for each month. I mean, that's kind of what it's been like. So I bring that up to say there's been a lot of changes, but there's going to be a lot of new faces in that Gamecock wide receiver room that people are going to have to get accustomed to knowing, whether it be through the transfer portal, whether it be through recruiting from a high school standpoint, like a guy like Mazio Bennett or DeBron Gatlin. I thought it was very interesting to listen to Leverdane speak today because one of the questions that was asked was about their height, the lack thereof. And Labradane didn't sugarcoat things. He's like, yeah, we're going to have to depend a lot on our speed, but you know what? We have a lot of it. We have a lot of it. And that doesn't include the speed, which is combined with height, of Nicholas Harbor, who's focused right now on track and field and set a new personal best last week, won the 100 meter in the event that South Carolina took part in this past weekend. But I thought it was very interesting to listen to him. So, having said that, let's switch on over to the wide receiver room to get an update on what that room is looking like from Gage Laverdane's perspective. Take a listen.
Gage, I'm Hale McGranahan with thebigspur.com.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too, man. What's this first 3 days been like for you so far this spring?
It's been great. Just going out there and just, each day going out there and try to prove to my coaches and then more importantly my teammates, that I'm gonna be one of those guys that they can rely on this year to kind of get to where we want to go. So it's been it's a great process. We got a good group of guys as well, so it's nice.
Gage, Mike, you have a Gamecock Central. Got two for you. I know it's been a crazy kind of transitional period with the changes that took place at the wide receiver coaching position. What helped you guys stay together? I know Coach Beamer talked that he reached out to you guys. Can you just recall kind of what that process was like?
I mean, it's definitely kind of difficult when you go 2 weeks with a coach thinking that he's going to be the guy that's leading our room. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's the 13, 14, 15 guys that we got in our room that got to go out there and play. You know what I mean? So regardless, I mean, obviously we've got a really good coach, and Coach Ferry, but regardless, it's us that got to go out there and play. So it's we've all been here. No one's left in our room. So that's all it is. It's us at the end of the day.
And like you said, it is about you guys. But what has working with Coach Ferry been like, especially knowing that he's someone that has played at the highest level and can be able to help you guys reach those dreams?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who wouldn't want to play for someone who's done exactly what? Almost like if there's 15 people in our room, I'm sure there's 15 of us that want to do exactly what he did. You know what I mean? So just having a guy that's been in our footsteps, he understands what it's like to be a student athlete. He understands what it's like to, just be a football player in general. And more importantly, he helps us as be better people more than football players as well. So like I said, it's only been a few days with him, but I love him. He's a really good coach. I can tell.
Hey, Gage, Pete Iacobelli with the Associated Press. What are your expectations? What have you seen already out of this offense and what you guys might be able to achieve come the fall?
Like I said, it's a group of eager individuals that's kind of just all about winning. You know what I mean? That's the most important goal. And, it makes it a little bit easier when you go against one of the best defenses in the conference every day. So, like I said, we go out there and work every single day. We got a lot more work to do. Obviously, it's only been 3 days in, but we're doing it, and that's the most important part. We're putting our head down and just working. So I'm loving it so far.
Hey, Gage, Joe Machika, Gamecock Central. So this wide receiver room is a bunch of veterans with a bunch of young guys in it. How are you guys meshing so far? And then what is it like bringing up some of these young guys like Mazio and DeBron?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool because, like, those guys are, like, highly recruited. So it's like – and they come in looking up to me, and it's like, dang, like, you were highly recruited. I wasn't nothing out of high school, you know what I mean? That's kind of what – that's what they thought, you know what I mean? So it's just a cool experience. We got – like you said, we got a couple vets in the room as well. So it's cool when you got a group of young guys who come in and then they don't have that mindset, oh, I'm a freshman. Like, these guys are out there practicing every day just like us, like trying to ultimately win a spot, try to help us win. So it's cool when you got a group of guys like vets and like freshmen that come in and mesh. It's one of the best things that you have in a room for sure.
Hey, Gage, Jordan K with the State newspaper. Two for you. The first one, we've seen a couple of videos of you just, catching some deep passes.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say the deep ball getting behind a defense is the best part of your game?
I mean, I think I'm pretty good at it, but I kind of think the best part of my game and I take pride in every element of my game as well. But I would think like it's like I can get the ball out of the backfield, I can catch a bubble, I can go deep, like I can kind of do 3-level scores, what they call it in basketball. So that's kind of what I pride myself on, being able to do everything. But like you said, I mean, our whole room is fast. That's what we're gonna have to pride ourselves on. Obviously, you guys probably know a little undersized group, but we got that chip on our shoulder, and then we're going to play to our advantages. That's what we do. We run by people. So.
And yeah, that was the other thing. Everyone kind of looks at the size and, oh, there's no 6'3" guys or whatever. Do you think that it can be an advantage for you guys of having really speedy guys who can catch the ball at different levels, get behind the defense, catch out of the backfield? And do you watch like NFL teams, Miami Dolphins, things like that, and as inspiration a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we've all heard of the old little cliche. It's not about the size of the dog in the fight; it's about the size of the fighting dog. So, like I said, we don't really worry about it too much. Like, I've been small my whole life. Cut the tape on. You know what I mean? The guys in our room been small their whole lives. Cut the tape on. You know what I mean? So, it's kind of like I said, it's one of those things that we kind of use as a little extra motivation for sure. Having that chip on our shoulder. But as far as like NFL guys, yeah, I mean, you always want to watch like guys that kind of sit like Nick Harbaugh wouldn't watch Tyreek Hill, even though he's that fast. He's way bigger than him. You know what I mean? So. It's kind of, you always kind of want to model your game and look at those guys who you kind of see, like, I'm not saying I'm Tyreek Hill, but little similarities in their game. You know what I mean? So,
All right. So there's Gage. Just any thoughts from what Gage had to say, Joe?
Yeah, nothing really. I mean, other than we haven't mentioned, right? I brought up, the question I asked him about being a veteran and amongst all these young guys. But I think, that's kind of the perfect storm, right? Because they're all competing for playing time, and means it's an open field, right? You got a lot of young guys with a lot of juice, and then a lot of veterans that are trying to prove it and prove they belong in the SEC. So I think it'll be a good combination when you mix it with a guy that's as fiery as Mike Furry, and somebody who's had the successes that Mike Furry has had. And I believe Gage talked about that as well, just playing for a guy like Furry, who's been to the highest of heights, leading the NFC and receiving for the Lions. So I think it's a good mix what they have in the wide receiver room, and it'll be interesting to see how throughout spring ball how it plays out. But a lot of good competition in that room, and we'll see what comes from it.
Want to hit on something because I see it popping up here, and we haven't had a chance to talk about it today. I know we want to be able to hear from a lot of the players, but there's speculation over the weekend with Ohio State having an opening at their running back position for their coaching position. And I saw that this was actually asked. Where is it? Greg says, are we losing Blackwell to Ohio State? My colleague, Chris Clark, put a note out on Saturday, and we're continuing to monitor the situation. What we've been able to gather, and I say we, I haven't talked to Chris about it today, specifically this afternoon about it. So obviously things can always change. So I'll say me. I don't want to say we in this case, but I'm sure Chris, if anything was said or any updates, he would post something on Gamecock Central. That's why I feel confident when I say the we part. What we know is, again, there's an opening over there. To our knowledge, Ohio State has not reached out to Blackwell. Now, that doesn't mean that he wouldn't be interested in the position. What it sounds like is, at least right now, things are good. Okay, Blackwell has been at practice. He was at practice on Saturday. He was in the building today. He is expected to speak to the media on Thursday. So I bring those things up to say I understand the fear, if any, fans have some fear right now, or whatever word you want to insert, because of some of the musical chairs that have took place this offseason with the Gamecocks. I don't want to say, because I don't think anything in sports is certain, where you could say, oh yeah, I can't see him leaving, just because of what has took place this offseason. But again, up to this point, that's what we know. They haven't reached out to him. They haven't offered him anything. And if he were to leave, I believe, I'll have to go back and check to get the exact number, but I believe his buyout would be in the ballpark of around $400,000. Now, typically, the school that is trying to get that coach to come on over, they pay that buyout. But I don't really want to get too deep on that. And the reason being, I just wanted to touch upon it because, again, I see it popping up in the comment section, and I know it's been on the message boards as well. But we will have an opportunity to talk with Blackwell on Thursday. And what I can tell you this, when you have to, and I've talked to Joe about this just as a young reporter and just talking to him, sometimes you have to ask just the A to B question. And I can promise you on Thursday, I will ask the A to B question when it comes to this speculation with Ohio State. If I'm not the one that's doing it, no, Craig, no, I'm not saying that you're starting any rumors, because trust me, it's not like you threw that in the comment section and you're the only one saying that. I mean, it got to the point where our own Chris Clark had to address it on Gamecock Central. So you're not the only one that's been talking about it. I wanted to address it for everybody because some people may not have seen it. I know that Oscar Attaway Jr. didn't see that. So I just want to make sure that we're putting that out there. But I want to just address it. Don't want to get too carried away with it, because let's wait until Thursday. Let's wait until we have an opportunity to talk to Blackwell. That doesn't mean he's going to come out and say, all right, this is everything that's been going on, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to ask him point blank. You came to South Carolina. Do you anticipate being the running back coach this year for the Gamecocks? And I know that sounds silly, and we can have time to workshop that question, but just asking him the A to B question, because you can't say, have you talked to Ohio State? Because guess what? Even if he hasn't, he'll come out, he'll say no. But sometimes they're not even talking to the actual said coach. They're talking to the agent. So, and this isn't from my short time of getting to know Blackwell, he's a great guy. I think he is going to be a tremendous fit here. And I want to be respectful in the sense of, let's not get too carried away with speculations and rumors quite yet. Let's wait until we see things play out. I don't think it's fair for him or any coach, just because of some of the things that have took place with other coaches here this offseason, and not just other coaches this offseason. Go back to when Shane Beamer was hired here, Mike Bobo, Will Friend. I mean, you can go back to even before Shane Beamer was here. So that's what I have to say. Just any thoughts, Joe, on that situation?
Yeah, I mean, don't want to put the cart before the horse, right? And especially because now, I mean, especially South Carolina this offseason, having lost James Coley to Georgia and everything, it's kind of a touchy subject, and it is kind of a weird thing, right? When a coach does that and leaves your program for a better one or a better situation or whatever the reason may be. So certainly don't want to get ahead of ourselves. And if it may be the way it plays out, that's the way it will be. And so be it, right? But I think, certainly don't want to jump the gun a little bit and put pressure on somebody that, for no reason, right? But I think Thursday we'll hear from them, and certainly we'll get a better idea of kind of what's going on.
Put it this way, and this isn't a direct quote from Blackwell, but from talking to people close to him, the way he views South Carolina's running back room, because it is loaded. It is loaded. And I'm not taking anything away from him, because, again, I think he's going to make incredible contributions at South Carolina if he's around here. This is a room that he inherited that did a tremendous job in the portal. They also have some more talent on the way with one of the top running backs in the country expected to enroll in the fall, with Matthew Fuller being that 4-star running back. That it's one of those situations where it's like, hey, just don't screw it up, right? I mean, we made the joke in the offseason when South Carolina was going through the period where they didn't have a running back coach for a little bit. And we said, hey, you could throw Coach Intern Joe in there for crying out loud. Just don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. So I say that to say that although I believe Blackwell will be here, that regardless of who's coaching that running back room has talent. That running back room has plenty of talent. And whoever's coaching that running back room, really what it comes down to is just don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. But we'll wait. We'll wait till Thursday comes, have an opportunity to listen to what Blackwell has to say. And if there's any updates on that, we will keep you posted on Gamecock Central between myself, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark as we continue to keep our ears to the ground. Final thoughts, Joe, before we wrap up on this Monday edition of Talking Tuesday, doing the little switcheroonie with Chris and Wes, who will be doing GC Live tomorrow at 2 for a Tuesday edition?
Not much, Mike. I mean, can't forget to hit the ads. Spring football's upon us, right? And so we heard from a lot of the offensive guys today. So good stuff. We'll have all that content on Gamecock Central, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, we'll have it. So a lot of fun football stuff. And again, this is talking season, Mike. So this is where we can speculate and that kind of thing. So yeah, football season. It's right around the corner, man.
And it's not just talking season. It's also tax season. Got a couple more weeks left. If you're trying to file your taxes, come on. What you doing?
Absolutely. I mean, set you up there, like throw three little curveball down the middle, Mike, for our good friends over at Liberty Tax. Tax IDs, that uncertain feeling you get right before doing your taxes, but you don't have to go through it alone. Tax team at Liberty Tax in Irmo, Lexington, and Columbia will walk you through the process. Clear up any confusion and guarantee you'll get the biggest possible refund or your money back. It's tax time. If you're in a hurry for your refund, call on the tax team at Liberty Tax. They're fast, accurate, and guaranteed. On the other hand, if you think you might be owing Uncle Sam, talk to the Liberty Tax team to make sure you're not paying more than you should owe. They'll find every possible deduction for you. Locally owned and operated, staffed by tax professionals from your neighborhood. Open 9 to 9 on weekdays and 9 to 5 on Saturdays. Multiple service options. Start through the Liberty Tax mobile app or through their desktop portal. Make an appointment or just walk in. Give a call to upload your tax documents, and when you come in your return, we'll be ready to review and sign. Give them a call on your screen right now. And for those listening, 803-462-5576. Once again, 803-462-5576 for all of your tax needs this tax season, Mike.
Today's show is also brought to you by our good friend Clint Hammond of Movement Mortgage. If you're in the process of purchasing a home or looking for the lowest rate on the market, give Clint and his team a call because they can help you out the same way our very own Wes Mitchell was able to go through that process, as well as former Gamecock quarterback and captain Perry Orth. When both those two were looking for homes, who did they give a call to? They gave a call to Clint Hammond, who's been a longtime supporter of not just Gamecock Central, but he's also the lead sponsor for every single one of these GC Live shows, and he's pretty damn good at what he does, too, with his job. That number, 803-771-6933. Again, like Joe said, if you missed any of our show, head on over to the Gamecock Central YouTube page where you can watch this show in its entirety. We'll also have interviews from the 6 offensive student athletes that met with the media on Monday. You'll be able to catch them all there. And if you're not already a subscriber, a free subscriber to the YouTube page, make sure you hit that little bell icon, because anytime one of these GC Live shows pop up, maybe it's like today. Maybe you're like, hey, wait a minute, Intern Joe and Mike, they talk on Tuesday, but wait, I have that bell. It's Monday. Those two jabronis are up there. You're not going to have to miss it. But if you do, like I said, you can go back, watch the shows in its entirety on YouTube, or if you're a podcast listener, head on over to the Gamecock Central Podcast Network, where you can also subscribe for free. Or if you want just a little bit more, you want a little bit more juice, maybe you want more on what's going on from a recruiting standpoint, or you want to see the ins and outs of what's going on behind the scenes with women basketball as they try to win their 3rd national championship in program history, or maybe you just want a deeper analysis of what's going on with baseball or football or anything else in between, or updates on what Nick Harbor's doing out there on track, sign up for Gamecock Central. $1 for your first month. You cannot beat that deal. And there's some other special deals in between if you want to try to make the most out of your opportunities. I believe there's a 40% off for the first year for your first initial sign up for Gamecock Central that is currently going on over at GC. So take advantage of that offer as well. He's Intern Joe. I'm Mike Yu. Appreciate everyone that tuned in for this Monday edition of Talking Tuesday. Chris and Wes will be on at 2 o'clock tomorrow for GC Live. Shane Beamer speaking with the media tomorrow around noon. I'm sure the two will have updates on what Beamer had to say on their show, so be sure to tune in. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody, and good luck to the Gamecock women's basketball team as they get set to travel off to Albany for the Sweet 16 later this week.